What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. Before I begin, let me say thank you to my Patreon supporters. You all allow me to make more and better videos. For those of you interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, it's patreon.com/actionfiguregrader. Okay, I want to preface this video by stating that the purpose of this video is to not bash on the Book of Boba Fett or Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you like it, great. Have fun with it. From my perspective, they are pretty mediocre, both of them. And so what I decided to do, instead of making a video where I just sit here and complain about the state of Disney Plus content, except for The Mandalorian, I took literally less than 5 minutes and I came up with 5 ideas for Disney Plus Star Wars content that, in my opinion, would make for excellent episodic miniseries or ongoing shows like The Mandalorian. And like I said, I have read a lot of this content, so I did not need nearly as much time as maybe someone else who hasn't read the content. But I do think that I've got 5 ideas / genres that Disney could easily explore that would dramatically improve the quality of the Disney Plus content. And if I can come up with this stuff in 5 minutes, surely the powers that be at Disney can take a little bit of time and improve upon the writing for some of the shows that have come out here recently. I don't want to dwell on that, though. I want to dwell on what I think could be done to improve things. And so I've got 5 ideas. I hope you enjoy looking at them. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not. But I do think that with a little bit of effort, Disney could really take the next step with regard to expanding the universe of really good content. And the first one I want to touch on is a book that I have mentioned in past videos, and that's a book by Alexander Freed, and it's tied to the Star Wars Battlefront video game. It's a novel called Twilight Company. And this, I think, would be excellent content because the way the book was written, it was written in such a way that it makes for really good episodes. And the basic premise of Twilight Company is that they have in their possession a high-ranking official for the Imperial kind of army who knows the logistics for the Empire and how to get materials to and from different sectors so the Imperial machine can march on, and whether it's fuel or materials and things like that. And basically, Twilight Company is at the forefront. They're at the tip of the spear for the rebels, where they are always inserted into the worst of the worst positions. And in the book, they basically are in charge of trying to disrupt the supply chain for the Empire. And how timely would this be, right? The world right now is experiencing supply chain issues, and this book is basically about trying to disrupt the supply chain for the Empire so the rebels have a chance. It takes place right around the Battle of Hoth in terms of the time frame, so you can pull from existing characters to kind of draw in the old characters, but the vast majority of the characters in this book are new characters, and I think that's where Disney Plus is hurting right now. They're regurgitating the same old characters, they're retreading past themes, and they need to explore new themes. And I think this is a theme that is timely in the modern world right now. In 2022, the supply chains issues that we are experiencing in real life need to be explored. And this is a great book to draw from, in my opinion. And if you haven't read this book, let me encourage you to do so. And not only that, make sure you read it twice. The first time I read it, I was like, okay, whatever. It was a so-so. But the more I dug into the book and when I reread it, you find such details that really ties the book together and gives it a sense of realism. And there's little snippets here and there that he references later. He assumes a level of intelligence for the reader, Alexander Freed does, that is at the upper end. So he doesn't repeat the same things like a lot of Star Wars novels do. I'm rereading some of the Star Wars novels, and it's like, yes, you told us that 10 times now. Alexander Freed doesn't really do that. He expects you to remember stuff from early on in the book. And later on in the book, he draws from very small snippets that really ties the book together. And the more I've read this book, and I know this is nerd alert right here, hashtag nerd alert, I've read this book many times, and it gets better every single time I read it. So I think that not only is the subject matter timely for the current world we're in right now, but it's the way the book is written. Each chapter is almost like a different mission, and it would be perfect for an episodic kind of either miniseries or seasons, just like The Mandalorian has been successful with. The next one is another obvious one that has been referenced in The Mandalorian, and that's Operation Cinder. Operation Cinder, I believe, was mentioned in Season 2 during the infiltration of the Imperial base, where Din Djarin and what's his name dress up in kind of the trooper outfits, and they do make a reference to Operation Cinder. So Operation Cinder has been drawn into current canon for Star Wars. Well, the Alphabet Squadron trilogy, again by Alexander Freed, so maybe I'm a little partial here, that explores Operation Cinder. And Operation Cinder was kind of a directive by the Emperor upon his death to basically burn and destroy worlds. And he has a very close-knit core of Imperials that he trusts to do it. And the directive goes out at the death of the Emperor. I'm assuming he's dead here. I'm not referencing the new trilogy with The Rise of Skywalker. But Operation Cinder is explored in great detail in this book. And the Alphabet Squadron references a kind of ragtag team of an A-Wing, an X-Wing, a U-Wing, and a B-Wing, and a Y-Wing. I think those are the 5. And so because they're all different letters of the alphabet, they name their ragtag squadron Alphabet Squadron. And so it's a really cool book. And the main protagonist is a girl named Erica Quell, who's shown here in this photo. I can't remember her name, but she's kind of like an alien that's part of the team. And I encourage you to read this trilogy as well. It's very well written. It's not as good, in my opinion, as Twilight Company, but it's a good trilogy. And there's a couple of really good enemies that or villains that would make great kind of main villains. There's already been a comic adaptation for the Alphabet Squadron trilogy. And so I think that this is another area where it's already clearly been touched on in The Mandalorian, and they could easily do an Operation Cinder episodic content again, where each episode or each 2 episodes revolves around one planet that the Empire is attacking and trying to destroy, and how Alphabet Squadron tries to thwart that. So that's another idea. Another kind of obvious idea that probably will, if it doesn't, I'll be really surprised, and that's kind of Thrawn's origin story. And clearly Thrawn is making his way to live action content in the Ahsoka series. It's already been heavily rumored. He's already been name dropped in The Mandalorian when Ahsoka showed up. So clearly Thrawn is going to be making a big presence. And I think if Disney and Lucasfilm are smart, they'll take the route of going towards Timothy Zahn's dual trilogies. So he's got 6 new novels. I've read all of them, and I've read all of them multiple times. So Thrawn is almost portrayed as a good guy in these 2 trilogies. And it explores not only current events and his kind of relationship with the Empire and Vader and also the Chiss while he's working for the Empire, but it also delves into flashbacks about his origin story. And I think if Disney is correct and smart and introduces Thrawn correctly to live action content, they will do their best to not make Thrawn look too bad of a person, and that would open up the option, if he's popular with Star Wars viewers, which I expect him to be if it's done well. They could eventually do a spin-off series exploring these duets of trilogies, and the books are very well written and very interesting kind of content that deals with expanded universe type of themes and aliens. Thrawn's lack of acceptance within the Imperial Army by the humans. We all know that the Empire basically had a negative connotation towards aliens. So you know how Disney is. Like they're very much into kind of political correctness and maybe a little bit of wokeness if you want to be negative about it. But this would allow them to explore that theme in a little bit more detail with a protagonist that is very popular. So if you haven't read these 6 novels, I didn't show all of them here, but Timothy Zahn has written 2 trilogies, and they're excellent. They're very, very good reading. So I do think that Thrawn's origin story makes for a very natural kind of extension, assuming that his presence within the Ahsoka series comes off as a hit. Next up is kind of another idea that I think really needs to be explored in more detail, and that's the kind of the gritty detective genre. And it's just something that hasn't really been explored within the Star Wars universe. And when I say gritty detective genre, I mean getting away a little bit from the child-approved themes of a lot of the shows. I feel like Obi-Wan, and to a certain extent, the Book of Boba Fett, it's almost too kiddie. And I think that they would benefit from having a more adult, darker themed show that would be very clearly marketed as such. And one way to do that would to have like a detective type of theme to it. They're already exploring that within the Trail of Shadows miniseries. It's a 5-book miniseries that is out right now, and I just showed some of the issue 1s that I just got back from CGC. And if you haven't read this book by Richard K. Morgan, it's called Altered Carbon. Not only is it one of the best cyberpunk / detective novels ever written, in my mind, it's one of the best books ever written. And while the themes, again, are much more cyberpunk, at its heart, it's a detective novel. It's a very gritty, very violent detective novel. And I'm not saying that Disney needs to get violent with their Star Wars content. I think you can do a detective genre that's gritty and dark without being violent. But I think that they would benefit from getting away from the kind of the retreads of a lot of the themes that we've already seen, be it protecting a youngling, whether it's Leia or Grogu. There's all kinds of just retreads, and it's getting a little tiresome. And I think that they could really do something right. I mean, look at the Mandalorian, if you will, and it's kind of Western themes, and even the good episodes within the Book of Boba Fett with Cad Bane and the Mandalorian. There was a very Western vibe to it. And I think that the Mandalorian clearly has the Western vibe down, and there's no need to bring more of that in there. But I do think that if they could explore the detective and like mysteries and solving mysteries in an episodic way, I think it would be a really cool kind of offshoot that is refreshing. And whether that happens or not, probably not, but I do think it would be pretty cool to do. Finally is a very obvious one, and I don't know why Disney has not done this yet, and that's exploring the criminal underworld within Star Wars. Within the comics, it's very prevalent, be it dating back to the 1990s with Shadows of the Empire and Prince Xizor, or the latest Crimson Reign run that is very good. And Kira's kind of has a big presence there, and they also reeled back in Prince Xizor from the Dark Horse comics of the 1990s to make him modern canon. The criminal underworld is loved by Star Wars fans, be it the bounty hunters or some of these other kind of related offshoots of Star Wars. And the criminal underworld is alive and well within the Mandalorian. And I think they could do a really nice episodic type of thing focused on the villains, focused on the bounty hunters, or focused on Xizor or Akira. And yes, there have been rumors that Emilia Clarke's coming back, but those rumors are long dead. I haven't seen anything in the last 6 months, maybe 3 to 4 months. I don't know what the exact time frame is about bringing her back. And Crimson Dawn was a really cool kind of offshoot as part of the Solo movie that I think needs to be explored in more detail. They could even bring back Darth Maul and show his kind of reign over the Crimson Dawn organization. So there's a lot of possibilities here that within the criminal underworld, be it bounty hunters or Crimson Dawn or Xizor or Black Sun, to date back to some of the other Timothy Zahn novels and the K.T. Jeter novels that date back into the dark times of the 1990s. So anyway, I just want to throw these ideas out here, and more importantly, I want to hear back from you guys. What do you guys think of these kind of 5 topics where Disney Plus could improve the quality of their live action content? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.